Having a chance to watch Iowa on film extensively, all three phases. I mean, this is a good football team, really talented team. On offense, I mean, it's as good as offensive line as I've seen this year playing. Very talented, very explosive, tight ends, excellent, dynamic players with speed, really outstanding running back. Quarterback's got a big arm, very well coached, very good at attacking defenses schematically. Their defense, really fundamentally sound. Couple of All-Americans on defense. Obviously, everybody knows Josie Jewell and Josh Jackson in the back end, and physical up front. Play with great pad level. Very, very tough team, physical, tough team. Special teams are very, very sound. This is a good football team, a well-coached team, and they're going to play hard. It's going to be a physical game. I think both teams are fundamentally sound. Both teams are going to play with a physical edge and a mentality, and will make for a heck of a game down in New York, in Yankee Stadium. So we're excited about it. We have a great deal of respect for Coach Ferentz and for the whole Iowa program. There's a lot of connections in our staff to their staff, and certainly respect everything about them and what Coach has accomplished throughout his tenure, which has been one of the longest and most consistent tenures in Power 5 football. So, great respect, great admiration for them, and really excited about an opportunity to play this level of Big Ten team down at Yankee Stadium. And we're jacked about being in Yankee Stadium and playing in this bowl game. We're jacked about the fact that this is like a home game for us, and we got a great fan base there. Our kids couldn't be more excited, and we're really honored to be able to represent the ACC in this bowl game. So, looking forward to it. Any questions?
Talk about their secondary first. Is this Josh Jackson there, Lucas Dennis?
Yeah, I mean, he's a real super talented guy, and really does a great job, anticipating the ball, and really think he's talented. Yeah.
They have 19 interceptions. That's actually
Yeah.
one more than BC has.
Yeah.
So what are they, just schematically? Are they sound? What?
Yeah. Well, they're like experts at the coverage that they play. I mean, they have all the adjustments off of their coverage, and they know what they're doing in their system of defense. They're very good at it. I think the people make the mistake maybe sometimes watching them on tape and thinking they're kind of vanilla, but they're not. There's a lot that goes on within their back end, and they're coached well and they're talented.
Can you just talk about their quarterback too, a little more?
Yeah, I'm a talented guy with a big arm, and I think he's a guy that can make all the throws. You've seen that on the tape, and has done some really good things throughout the year. So I think he's certainly a guy with a high ability level. I'm not just saying we're playing Iowa now, so I'm going to give you all that coach speak. I'm telling you, I'm watching the tape, and I'm very impressed with them. I think they're outstanding. I do.
Just looking, 25 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, so he must be smart with the football.
Oh yeah. But he's got a good arm. You can tell he's an very intelligent player. Their whole team's like that though. They're not going to beat themselves. You better make sure you don't beat yourself playing them. And people turn the ball over a fair amount against them. I don't think that's a coincidence or an accident,
How's Darius working with the receivers?
Great. Yeah, great bowl prep. He's done a fantastic job. I think that this has been one of our best bowl preps in terms of development. Watching some of these guys that'll have vital roles in the game are getting better and better as they roll. So, from that standpoint, it's been very productive.
Talk about AJ and John Hilliman and how you're going to use them.
Yeah, we're going to use them both, and Travis, right? All three of those guys will be in the game and playing in vital roles, and it's going to be a very physical game and a very run-orientated game too. So you're going to see a great dose of those guys.
Coach, how important is it for you guys to establish your run game against a team that obviously they kind of stack the box real tight to make sure that teams don't run against them?
Yeah, I think we're very similar that way. We'll probably both be fighting to establish that. I will say this to you, though. We've worked real hard that we'll be balanced in that game. But for us, it all starts with the ability to run that football, and the offensive line and the backs to play play well. And then that's from there it really starts to set off our throw game, and then I think from there we can do the things that we have planned for this game. But our plan in this game is to be quite balanced, and but that run game needs to be strong.
You mentioned in your opening that it's going to feel like a home game because you're so close. How important is it for you to tell your players, hey, make sure you get as many people down there so we can continue this role? So this is, we get Iowa, which shows up, and maybe they have a little corner strip of people.
Yeah.
But you see our colors everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's so important, As our fan base, from what I understand from the Yankees, has really come through, selling our boxes and selling our tickets, and I think that's going really well, which is really exciting, and I think that's what makes a bowl game special, when you can have a big travel contingency. And, last time we played there, we had a great travel contingency, and also so did Penn State. And so it made for a in-demand ticket. It made for a exciting, sold-out venue. And that's what makes these bowl games even more fun, I mean, the playoff games and the top bowl games will be sold out. But when you get to the next rung of games and they have that kind of energy to them, I think it makes it all that much better. So my anticipation in New York will be we will have a great following from Boston College. We'll be there and be excited, and it'll energize our team.
Can you talk about Isaac a little bit? I'm interested in, first of all, his overall development, and then your thoughts on his winning the Jay McGillis Award.
Yeah, I mean, Isaac is he's got great physical size and fantastic speed. And a lot of the guys at the next level are recognizing that. He's been selected to play in the East-West Shrine game, and or was it the Senior Bowl? I'm sorry, Senior Bowl. And so I think he's being recognized for his ability. Fantastic player, really, and has really come a long way and kept developing. I think Campanelli's done a great job with him and continue his development. You asked me another piece of that. What was the other piece you asked me about? Yeah, and winning the Jay McGillis Award is a very, is a prestigious award that our kids all recognize, and which has got a lot to do with an outstanding defensive back, but also has a lot to do with the way that who wins it carries himself, his leadership, his character, and Ike has been all of the above. Has been A+. So I would say I'm looking forward to Ike playing his best game, and then going on and having just a great opportunity for a future in this game as well.
One last thing, the position he plays, is it a double-edged sword? Because if you're really good, you don't get a lot of opportunities to show you're really good, and it seems like, at least in the second half of the year, maybe they didn't throw at him as much, and is it hard for a player to establish when teams start to shy away from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's probably some of that, and but I think when you have guys playing out in the corner and they can play, we play a combination. I mean, when you're in zone, you're in zone. We play a lot more zone than we've played here since I've been here, and I think what you've seen in the back end for us is there's been great development in the ability to play zone coverage as well as man, and which doesn't make us one-dimensional. So I think in man, people have a tendency to target people in man coverage, right? In zone, I think you're looking for people are trying to attack wherever they deem to be the soft spots in the zones. With us, we play quite a bit of mixture of both. So I think Ike gets both extremes of that.
Coach, you mentioned the work that Anthony Campanelli has done with Ike, and he's won a couple of national defensive back coach of the year. Have you noticed that change from his first year to his second year, and what he's done with that secondary?
I think it's been an evolution. I just think that you're talking about an older group of guys. I mean, Ike being one, Cam Moore being the other. Both those guys are very talented. I mean, they're good players, and so. What's good in a room is when you have good coaching and good players, and that thing merges together. Without good players, though, it's hard to get anything done. And so they're talented. Then, of course, you're dealing with Will and Lucas back there, and then Taj, and of course, young Hamp Cheever. So it's a vibrant, talented room. Don't also understand that Justin Simmons and John also had a lot to do with establishing the culture of that room. You know, and I can remember when I was a position coach back in Florida, and I had both the Pounceys and Marcus Gilbert and those guys in there. I mean, pretty good room, pretty good culture in that room. And those are guys that bought into everything. And I think that's what's going on in that room right now. So Anthony has got a talented room. He's done a great job of, you know, being the leader of that room and developing a sense of pride in that room, you know, and unit pride. And those guys practice at a high level. They hold their standard at a high level. And I think now the development, but, you know, and the recruiting has been good in that room. I mean, this whole team has been re-recruited. I mean, you know, the established, there's a lot of speed and a lot of talent. Sometimes I look back when I first arrived here and where it is today now. We got guys in this field on both sides of the ball that can run. They're athletic, they're long, and you know, I think, so all that goes together. It's all important, not one more than the other. Of course, it does start with good ability, you know, and so there's a lot of positivity going on in that room. I think Anthony has done a fabulous job with them, and I think they've responded great, and they were conditioned to do that because of the guys that went before them too.
All the tape of Iowa, is there a game that sticks out to you that really teaches you a lot about that team? Is there a team that they've played that you find similarities with yourself that kind of help you learn more?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they play Wisconsin's kind of Michigan State. Those teams are kind of like. There's some similarities in those games, but they're pretty. They do what they do now. They're pretty consistent in what they do. They're really fundamentally sound. They're schematically sound. I mean, everybody has a flair here and there in a bowl game, but I think, you know, it won't be a problem understanding how they line up. The problem will be blocking them, and that's always the problem, because when you get against teams that are well coached like that and disciplined like that, you got to beat them, and you got to beat them physically, and that's hard to do. Yep.
Because you've been around Coach for a little bit, so you understand that they're always going to be. Okay, we can. Are they a Ferentz team? Are they like kind of tough-nosed, gritty, that type of, you know,
all the above? That he is? This is a typical Iowa team. That's why I respect it so much. They're very fundamentally sound. You know, everything is fundamental sound and schematic sound. You're not going to catch them, you know, schematically or anything else. And they play physical, hard, run to the football on defense, tough. Offensive mindset is they want to establish the run as well. I mean, this is a good, solid, strong football team. You've seen that through the years. You watch the tape, all the games. I mean, they've played some phenomenal football games. I mean, none short than the one they played against Ohio State at home. I mean, you know, it's a good team. Very, very good team. And to answer your question, that's how Coach Ferentz has always had those teams. You know, that's why he's been there so long, and in this volatile business stood the test of time. I mean, you know, I can remember visiting Coach back when he was with Baltimore, and it was the Colts. And well, wait a minute now. Is that a right statement I just made? It was in Baltimore. I don't know if it was the Colts, but it was Baltimore. Yeah, I think it was, though. It was right before they moved. Could have been. What year would that have been? That's when it was. Right before they moved. Date myself here. But anyways, that wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story was I can remember going out and visiting him with Coach DeLeon and some other coaches, and we went out there and spent some time, and I was just mesmerized then with, you know, the detail and everything about the way he presented everything. And that was a long time ago now. I'm just going back. So, you know, and so yes, I mean, you know, coached at Maine, played at Connecticut. I mean, you know, he's a Pittsburgh guy, but he's had some Northeast flair to him. Yep.
Talk about AJ and Ben getting freshman All-American.
Yeah.
And also, how much did Ben help AJ and AJ help Ben?
Probably all the above, back and forth. What's nice is when you see these young guys, you know you got good young players. And having good young players is good for everybody. So that's a good thing. We're talking about, you know, a lot of recognition on the all-conference teams by our players on every age bracket. A lot of, you know, all over the place, from the All-ACC to the Walter Camp Awards to, you know, ACC Rookie of the Year to the all-freshman whatever rookie team. I think there's what that means is you got some talent. You know, that means that recruiting went well. Maybe all the stars didn't matter. We got a couple of them, but I mean, I think there's been good development. And speaking about Isaac, I mean, speaking about Cam, I mean, Cam came here with no scholarships. You know, these weren't highly recruited guys, but yet they're going to go to the Senior Bowl and the Combine and all those other things, right? So how do you measure that? Measure it like that. That's how you measure it. You know, how many guys have a chance to develop and then have a chance to go play at the next level? Speaks to, you know, what you got going on, you know. Not a bunch of 5 stars, I can tell you that.
Let's talk about Ben, though, his transition from freshman to veteran and where it happened and how it happened.
Well, you know, it was force-fed. I mean, you know, we lost John. We had already lost Shane, and we were going to. We felt like Alec needed, like his brother, needed to gain some more weight first, and we thought Ben was a guy that could make a contribution, but probably at tackle. And then in a week's time, we made him a center. And he went and played his first college game and never played center and never been in a college football game. So he got a crash course in learning, and he handled it well, extremely well. And to play a true freshman offensive lineman is very, very difficult to do. Very difficult. Never mind making a position change and playing that position on top of everything else with all the identifications that have to go on and starting all the run plays and the pass protections. And I think it's really unbelievable what he's able to get done as a true freshman. Remarkable. So, you know, that's hard to do. Especially, you know, he did that while we were playing the number 2 at that time, the number 2 schedule in America. I always say that because, like, you know me, like, I'll never stop saying that because I'm a huge guy, and who you play matters, you know. I mean, I get it. Everybody lumps all Division I football together. That's not accurate. I mean, you know, and all our conferences aren't. That's not accurate. There's some conferences. There's no defense going on in those conferences. Like all of a sudden, you know, you look some of these places that score gazillion points and all that. There's no defense that happens in those conferences. I mean, I played in the SEC when it was the best, and what made it the best was it was unbelievable defense in those conferences. Tough. If you couldn't play defense and you couldn't run the football, you know, you're going to have a hard time. And so, like, I guess my point is he did this against outstanding competition, which makes it even harder because that's where you see the differences. And you talk about the level of competition, you see the differences in the trenches, okay? The trenches are different now. You know, those big guys, those defensive linemen, they're real. Big, fast, powerful guys, okay? And that's where, that's why I really have a lot of respect for it. He had to go do that. And Wake Forest front was really good when he first took that first. Yeah, I mean, you know, so that's what I'm saying. I mean, I really have a lot of respect for that. It matters.
Getting back to Ike for a second, you said he wasn't a very heavily recruited guy.
Right.
So in recruiting him, what did you see?
Well, we had him in camp. See, we're big on camp. That's my philosophy. You get a guy in camp, you better be right. If you get a chance to coach the guy in the field, I mean, film is a part of it, no doubt. But sometimes film on DBs and stuff is hard, especially in high school. But his high school coach was fantastic, and his program. But we had him in camp. And we worked, you know, you work him out in camp, and you get a real sense of a guy there. You can tell the intangibles as well as the skills. I mean, what's his speed? Well, we're going to time him and have empirical data on what his speed is. You know, empirical data on what his explosiveness is in a broad jumper and vertical leap. That doesn't mean you can play football, but that's the fundamental starting point for measuring athleticism, speed, and power. And then you go ahead and put him through all the DB drills. And then you watch him play man coverage. And how does he take the coaching? And can he translate that to the field? So when you have a chance to do that in camp, you know, I think you need to be right in your assessments. So we saw real promise on film. We backed it up with what we felt was a great camp experience. And we felt terrific about Ike from day one. And we wanted, at that time, we were really big into trying to get bigger corners. And here we had a tall corner who could run. Raw, very raw, but he was tough and he could run. And every year, Isaac developed every year. I mean, if you guys haven't spent any time around Ike, you should spend some time around Ike, man. He is a beautiful kid, man. I'm telling you, what a guy he is. I mean, just fantastic. A great role model and representative of Boston College.
Now, this camp you talk about, that was while he was still in high school at Doherty High?
Yeah. Yeah. Summer camp.
Okay.
Yep. You know, as all these high school kids have a chance to come to different camps, it was a summer camp.
And it sounds like he got your attention right away.
Everybody's. Yep. Everybody's. So that was great. And that's a vital thing for us. We're a developmental program. We need to be able to have guys in camp and we'd be able to make good decisions because, you know, we have to have great vision on guys, not only what they are, but what they will become. And I think that's critically important, the ability to do that.
Are there any players we haven't seen a lot of in the regular season that you're planning to break out for the bowl game?
You know, I would say a couple. You know, I think you could see a guy like C.J. Lewis a little bit more. I wouldn't, you know, I'm not going to make a guarantee on all that, but I mean, I think, I think just to name a guy, you know, T.J. Ram you've seen, but you can see more. More Davon. I mean, you know, with his position change, that's gotten better and better and better. And so, I don't know. You catch me off guard, but those are a couple guys right there, you know. I mean, you'd like to get a lot of these guys in there, but you want to get win 8 too. So, you know, going to try to manage that. You know, you're looking to get some guys some critical game experience, but we're going down to try to win a football game. So sometimes when you get in those situations, you know, sounds good. What sounds good today isn't as easy to do come game time.